All right, so let's talk to the API in code. All right, so using Postman is dandy, but our MVC app is not going to use Postman. It's got to be able to call the API and get information. All right, so we've got this method, and I made a little bit of a tweak, but I'll go over that in a second. So we've got our asynchronous task. Okay, the reason I have to use an asynchronous method is because this client I get from JSON async is asynchronous. So because this method is asynchronous, therefore the overall method must also be synchronous. They have to match. If I don't do that, let's say I just go ahead and get rid of this. Okay, see, oh my God, it broke. All right, so the task object represents asynchronous operation, so the await operator can only use within async method. All right, so because I'm using await in an asynchronous method, I have to have all the other stuff in the beginning. So let's go back. So I must have an async task, and I'm going to return this model, my IMDb response, which was my model from before, which is my JSON I get back from the API. Okay, and we call it search movie, and they give me a search term. Hunky dory. All right, so line 31 is this built-in class called HTTP client, and we use it to talk to the outside world. All right, this class does a bunch of stuff. One of the things it can do is it can make GET requests to external APIs, which is what we want to do. All right, so we're going to make a new one. Then we're going to give it a base address. We need to be omdbapi.com. All right, and then the main event is line 35. Await, because this is a synchronous method, so it requires the await operator, right? We await. Okay, I want this task to finish before I get something back. If you don't have this await, you're going to get really weird results. What will happen is it will do the task, and then whenever it happens to run this, you'll get like it'll be like getting like a cake, but you only left it in there for like a variable amount of time. So you'll get it back out of the oven, but it might still be goo. So you want this await, so to make certain that this task finishes. So yeah, we have this task. That's what it's referring to. All right, here's my client. And this get from JSON async is a built-in method. We didn't have to use any sort of library or anything like that. .NET 6 has get from JSON async because calling an API, getting back JSON, and deserializing it into a C# object is a super common thing. So why not just build the method in for developers to use? Okay, I want an IMDb response. Okay, that's what this is here. And then inside here are my query parameters. All right, so the first parameter always starts off with a question mark. So it's T, so question mark T equals, and the search term that they give me. And then the second parameter always has an and in front of it, and then any other parameters afterwards. Remember, in your URL, you can have as many query parameters as you'd like. The first one has a question mark in front of it. All the other ones have an and sign in front of them. This is the API key. For whatever reason, IMDb has the API key inside as a query parameter. That's not normal, but whatever. That's what they decided to do, and we have to play by their rules if we want to use their API. All right, so what this is going to do is it's going to call the OMD API. It's going to get back JSON. It's going to look just like it does in Postman. It's going to get back JSON like this. And then it's going to take that JSON and turn it into an IMDb response object. And then it's going to return it. All right, so everything's hunky-dory. If you can get, this is basically what you do with external APIs. You build the URI, which is basically the URL you're going to use to make a request, and then the client already has methods that we can use to do gets. There's also other ones. There's like client.post as JSON async, where you can post JSON to something or post something in general. You can do put, patch. See, there's all those HTTP verbs we saw in Postman. If we go back to Postman, let me clean up my spacing here a little bit. Okay, if we remember these verbs, get, post, put, patch, delete, you'll notice that the client also has those methods that match those. So put, post, etc., etc. All right, so this client is going to basically do what Postman does, except in code. And then we'll get back our response, and then we can use it. So this will return IMDb response. Now remember from the lab, we have two views. This first view is for the empty form, all right? So the form we're going to show them at the very beginning. The second one is going to be when they submit the form. When they hit that submit button, they're going to post whatever they search for, and we're going to call this method and get back an IMDb response. So actually we can go ahead and just use IMDb response. That way it's clear what this is returning. All right, and then you can just go ahead and do what you want with it. You can return redirect to action, for example, and then the movie response. So like if you want to have a view where it's just like view single movie, so like I don't know, single movie view, I'm just calling it that. And it would take a movie IMDb movie response. Okay, thank you, IntelliSense. It read my mind. So you could do something like this, right? You go get the movie, you take the movie data and send it off to another view, and then you can show off the movie however you want to. All right, but the main event, like I said, this is more to do with like the controllers and form posts. And if you don't remember about that, I do already have a video on posting forms. It's the same thing. It's no different. It just has fewer inputs. Right, but the main event is here. So we have the review. We have the client, which is our way of talking to the outside world. We give it a base address. Okay, it needs this because it needs to know where it's going to make the request to. We have to tell it. And then we have methods like get from JSON async. And because it's an async method, we need this await keyword. Again, weird things will happen if you don't have this keyword in front of it. Like I said, it would be like putting a cake inside of an oven and then setting a timer to some variable number and then taking the cake out and seeing what you get, right? So we don't want to do that. We want to make sure the cake is done, so we're going to need this await. Okay, I want to get back an IMDb response, so to make this super clear. Okay, that's what we're returning. All right, and so whatever, we're not going to do null. But in any case, we get back an IMDb response, and then this is the rest of the URL that we want to pass in. It will, and then after that, this method will do all the work for us. All right, so that way we can just sit back and let it do its work, and then we'll get a response back. I'd like you also to try to, like, when you start testing this out, once you get it working, try putting a search term in that's a movie that doesn't exist and see what happens, all right? It'll be a good lesson for you. All right, so this is, again, how you make a call out to a third-party API. You're just going to follow the same basic pattern, all right? Let me know if you have any questions.